What's up, Taters? This is Tree from treeoflogic.com. So as you all know, last week I uploaded a video talking about how Governor Greg Abbott out of Texas promises to arrest the demon rats who fled Texas to avoid voting on a new voter reform bill, and they broke quorum. And he promised and said that he was definitely going to arrest them upon return. Now, as you all know, I do a live stream of the news on Mondays and Thursdays. And so last night I read this article, and I don't pre-read my articles. So a lot of times my audience and I are learning the information within the article at the same time. And to my surprise, I found out that 2 demon rats who had fled Texas have returned back to Texas. And you know what? They're not in jail. They have not been arrested. So when I did this video yesterday, I said, hey, you all let me know, is Abbott really going to keep his promise, or is this just a bluff? And half of you said it's a bluff. This was done in 2003. They're not going to do nothing. He's just talking out of the side of his neck. The other half of you were like, oh yeah, Abbott means it this time. These demon rats are going to get arrested. Rah, rah, rah. And I didn't know who to believe. I just didn't know who to believe, because I was like, I don't know who to believe. Because one thing is, I'm not really a big fan of Abbott, by the way. You know what I'm saying? He gave you guys a mask mandate, but that's another story, okay? So let's go to the video where he said specifically how things were going to go when the demon rats come back. And then I will go into the story about the 2 demon rats who came back to Texas and what has happened to them and what didn't happen to them. They didn't get arrested. And then I'll also talk about what's happening with the rest of the cowards that have left Texas and are stuck in Washington, D.C. So let's listen to what Abbott have said when this first happened about a week and a half ago.
Welcome back. The Texas legislature special session came to a screeching halt today as House Democrats are once again breaking quorum to keep the voting reform bills from passing.
The Democrats are flying to Washington, D.C. tonight, saying, quote, we need Congress to act now to pass the For the People Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Act to protect Texans and all Americans from the Trump Republicans' nationwide war on democracy. End quote.
Joining us now to discuss today's events is Texas Governor Greg Abbott. Governor, thank you for your time this afternoon here on KVUE.
Of course, my pleasure. Thank you all.
Let's begin with this. Does this mean there's now no way for Senate Bill 1 and House Bill 3, the election and voting reform bills, to be passed during this special session? And is there anything you as governor can do to get the Democrats back to Texas?
Sure. Let me answer those questions in sequence. First, there still remains plenty of time to pass out not just the bills that you mentioned, but there's a lot of other bills on there that I know for a fact that your viewers right now, they care a whole lot about, such as property taxes. Property taxes are sky high in the Austin area, and we have a bill to reduce those property taxes. I know that your viewers care a whole lot about the children who are going through foster care. We have additional funding to provide for foster care, as well as for our retired teachers. And as you know, we need more law enforcement to keep our streets safe. We have funding for law enforcement in high crime areas such as the Austin area. All of those issues are important not just to your viewers, but for a fact, they're important to constituents of Representative Goodwin, Representative Tallarico, Representative Weiner. And so if they do not return to work, they're risking losing their jobs as state representatives for not showing up. Answering your second question, yes, there is something the governor can do. First, I will tell you that what the House of Representatives can do, the Speaker can do, is issue a call to have these members arrested. In addition to that, however, I can and I will continue to call special session after special session after special session all the way up until election next year. And so if these people want to be hanging out wherever they're hanging out on this taxpayer-paid junket, they're going to have to be prepared to do it for well over a year. As soon as they come back in the state of Texas, they will be arrested. They will be cabined inside the Texas Capitol until they get their job done. Everybody who has a job must show up to do that job, just like your viewers on watching right now. State representatives have that same responsibility.
So you heard that, right? You heard that. he said that they were going to get arrested. And now, is there anything? Hold on a second. Let me let this play a little bit and see if there was anything else he said that was relevant to the story, because they go to the end where they talk about certain laws. That's not interesting to me. I'm in Georgia. I do have a large Texas base, so maybe I'll let it play towards the end, because this is probably very relevant to you all. So yeah, I'll go ahead and let the entire video play, because this is information that could be relevant and interesting to you.
So, Governor, is the time for compromise over? It sounds like you guys are ready to play hardball, but are Republicans willing to meet Democrats somewhere in the middle when it comes to election reform in Texas?
So listen, what I'm about to tell you is very important, and that is there were a couple of issues that not just Democrats but even Republicans wanted to achieve, and that was to make sure that the souls to the polls would still be allowed to have expanded voting on Sundays, as well as not have the provision in there that would overturn elections. That said, it's also important to point out that this law that we are seeking to pass adds more hours, not fewer hours, for people to vote. And so we still have the same 12 days of early voting, but more hours during that early voting. And get this, we have far more hours of early voting than in the state where President Biden votes, in Delaware, where they have exactly 0 hours of early voting. Anyone who suggests this deprives anybody the right to vote is just simply flat out wrong. This provides more hours to vote than ever before allowed under law in the state of Texas.
So, Governor, why is there a need for these bills when you say that? Was there fraud involving 24-hour voting locations or mail-in ballots in the state? Has there been some widespread issues that you all have found?
So you need to understand that actually there is a federal district judge appointed by Barack Obama who wrote what I'm about to tell you in a legal opinion involving voting in Texas, where she wrote that voter fraud occurs, quote, in abundance with regard to ballot harvesting and mail-in ballots in the state of Texas. That is an Obama-appointed federal judge saying that. And that is exactly why the one issue that the legislature is focused on about making the voter election system more sound does involve mail-in ballots. I will add that members of the Texas House of Representatives on the Capitol floor have said that mail-in ballot situation is one that has the possibility of fraud, and that is shoring that up is a way to ensure election integrity. So this is something that does have bipartisan support.
Now, Governor, I know lawmakers, they're spending time on election and voting issues. You say they would have looked at things involving foster care, foster children, and property taxes. But what about the electrical grid? So many Texans say that is something that needs to be addressed right now. They want to know what's going to keep Texas from suffering another massive failure and having more Texans die because of it.
Sure. So first, during the regular session, there were so many laws that were passed by the state legislature that addressed the electrical grid, and it empowered the Public Utilities Commission as well as ERCOT. ERCOT sent me a letter that we made public earlier today, that talked about these things that ERCOT is working on. ERCOT has already ensured they have increased electric power generation. They have increased more reserves compared to last year. They're adding additional reserves during uncertain weather conditions, and they're installing protocols to ensure price certainty during weather challenges. And tomorrow, I think it is, you will see that ERCOT announced its 100-day plan to ensure stability and certainty in the power grid in the state of Texas.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott, thank you for your time this afternoon here on KVUE. We appreciate it.
Okay, so you heard that. So let me tell you what happened after they arrived in Washington, D.C. So they met with Kamala Harris. Shout outs to Joe Brown. About a week after that, 6 of them developed COVID. They got tested positive for COVID, even though they're fully vaccinated. It started off with 3. Oh, did it start off with 4? Hold on. I think it started off with either 3 or 4. And then, it started off with 3, then 2 of them, two got it, and then 1 more got it. So now it's a total of 6. So they got it. And then, of course, after being there, Robert Francis. I don't know who this Beto O'Rourke is, but I know who Robert Francis O'Rourke is. But Robert Francis raised these people $600,000. Can you believe it? Now, I read this article. This is going to blow your mind. They were already on a $1.5 million budget. They're already on a $1.5 million budget. Why does it cost? Oh yeah, that charter plane or, the charter bus. I don't understand how it's going to cost this much for them to live in. Oh yeah, okay, whatever. I swear this is a hustle. This is such a hustle. And then now they mad because guess what? Biden won't meet with them. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I wouldn't meet with y'all either because y'all nasty. Y'all got the koofy coof, okay? Who knows? Who knows? Y'all are super spreaders. Real talk. They're super spreaders, okay? So anyway, so after this, they're just upset because Biden won't meet with them. And they met with Mnuchin about the filibuster. Mnuchin's like, I am not getting rid of the filibuster. I'm not voting against I'm not voting to get rid of the filibuster. Y'all could just, kill that noise. And then they also, who else? They met with some other demon rats in Congress in reference to the For the People Act. And that's not going to get passed. So in the process of them trying to negotiate, trying to get them to pass the For the People's Act and trying to convince Joe Mnuchin to turn his back on his voting base, that he's not going to do that. He's not going to turn his back on his voting base. So in the process of them trying to get Joe Mnuchin to turn his back on his voting base, they also tried to meet with other Republicans in order to change their mind in reference to the filibuster, and they're not even having it. But then what happened was 2 demon rats returned to Texas and they weren't arrested. One is this guy, what is his name? Okay, his name is Texas State Representative Harold Dalton Jr. And the reason why he came back was because he have a family member that is recovering from cancer and is currently going through chemotherapy. So he came back, but he was not on the chartered plane and he really didn't associate with the group too much. So he was not worried about bringing COVID back with him to basically contaminate his family members. And the second person that came back was Representative Philip Cortez. Okay, he also came back and he made this tweet here. This tweet was sent, when was this tweet sent? Oh yeah, this tweet was sent about 2 days ago in reference to he was saying that he's going to talk in good faith. Child, please. No, you're not. How y'all going to talk in good faith when you're there in bad faith? So I began to read up on this story, and thanks to my taters, they had sent me a video. They have sent me information telling me this is not the first time Texas have done this. So looking at this video, and we're gonna play it because it's very enlightening. It's very educational, and it gives me an insight that yeah, this ain't gonna happen. I don't think. For those of you who said no, Abbott ain't gonna arrest nobody. They just basically talking out the side of their neck. It's a big old bluff. I'm going to be on your side. I really am, because I think you're right. And after watching this, you'll see why.
A Holiday Inn in Oklahoma. The Marriott Inn in Albuquerque, New Mexico. 2 spots not in Texas.
It ended up going national and international.
But part of Texas history.
No question, we got the notoriety.
Bad Texas.
It's no secret House Democrats in Texas are in Washington, D.C., breaking quorum to run the clock out on Governor Abbott's special session where tighter voting restrictions are in play. The last time the Texas House broke quorum, 2003.
Was the walkout worth it in 2003?
Yeah, it was worth it. And standing up for democracy is worth it.
Former State Rep Jim Dunham led House Democrats from Texas to Ardmore, Oklahoma, to stop Republican redistricting efforts in the regular session. Much like this week, arrest warrants were issued for Dunham and his fellow lawmakers.
Well, I actually have my arrest warrant on my wall.
We literally left with the clothes on our back.
State Senator John Whitmire was part of the Texas 11 that year. He and 10 other state senators took off to Albuquerque when then-Governor Rick Perry called the special session to push those redistricting plans through.
It's all about timing, effectiveness.
Whitmire stayed 35 days helping run out the clock in at least one special session, but he was the first of the Texas 11 to return home. Deemed Quitmire, he gave Republicans the quorum they needed to get back to work on the redistricting plan.
We were being killed in the polls.
But Whitmire doesn't regret it. If he didn't come back, his place as chair on the Criminal Justice Committee may have been vacated.
We played that card, it didn't work, and it was time to get back on the Senate floor.
Dunham is done playing politics, but when it comes to this walkout,
This is these lawmakers doing the job they were elected for, which is to protect their constituents and their right to vote. That's what we're fighting for.
in Dallas, I'm Matt Howerton.
So I do believe that this will come back and haunt them. I meant to go get the polls, but I'm not really into the polls, guys, so I'm not gonna go get it. I just realized that, like, wait a minute, I'm Tree of Logic. I'd stopped believing in polls after 2016. But yeah, when I looked, it was their favoritism and their popularity is declining big time. And it's just, I don't know how many will have to return for the vote to go through. Right now, I think it was 51 that left. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, correct me in the comments section. And then 2 came back. So how many have to come back before there's that's actually a vote? Now, I was reading this article right here. This is very informational. This is very good right here, where it says Texas House Democrats trying to block the GOP voting bill are pinning their hopes on Congress. So far, Congress is unmoved. And this was first of all, it was very long, but I came to this very important paragraph, actually these 2 paragraphs right here, and I'll read it for you out loud for those who are just listening in the background. For now, the deadline is August the 6th, when members of Congress are expected to return to their home district for the summer's recess that will last until after Labor Day. That's also the last scheduled day of Texas special legislation session, after which Texas Democrats are planning to end their exodus. These meetings serve as both a time for the Texans to make their case for the need of a federal voting rights bill and for congressional leaders to advise them how to best lobby in a political arena with which they are not familiar. So yeah, so that's that. And looks like they got 2.5 more weeks to return, but I don't think they're going to get arrested. And that makes me angry because I don't believe in bluffing. I don't bluff. I never give any type of empty threats ever. So this is, I don't know, you guys probably could believe this is still going to happen, but I don't think so. It doesn't look like it, because if that was the case, you know what I'm saying, he would have been arrested and he would have been arrested. Okay. Let me know what you think about this. I'm really disappointed in this completely, but it's Texas. You guys do things pretty differently over there, so it is what it is. So let me know what you think. Do you think Abbott's still gonna pull a rope-a-dope and still arrest them? He's just waiting for more to come down, and probably are just holding these 2 down here without arresting them, so it gives the impression that he's not going to arrest them, and then when more come, he is going to arrest them, or he's going to cook out like always. I don't know. Tell me, Texans. Y'all let me know. You guys talk to me in this video. I would love to hear what you got to say for this one. So be sure to leave a comment. Talk to me. Would love to hear from you. Also, leave a like, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and don't forget to hit the bell. This is Tree from treeoflogic.com. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Later, taters.